Trump warns new Venezuelan leader as Maduro set to appear in court. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to Venezuela's new leader, Delcy Rodríguez, saying she could pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro, if she fails to do what he calls the right thing. These comments come as Venezuela's deposed president, Nicolás Maduro, is set to appear in a New York court, facing serious criminal charges brought by the United States. What follows is not just a political transition, it is a story of military force, international outrage, accusations of drug trafficking, and fears of a new regional conflict. Let me break it all down. Donald Trump made his warning in an interview with The Atlantic. Referring directly to Delcy Rodríguez, he said that if she does not cooperate with U.S. demands, the consequences for her could be even more severe than those faced by Nicolás Maduro. This statement came just days after Maduro and his wife were captured during a dramatic U.S. military operation in Caracas and flown to the United States. Maduro, who has ruled Venezuela since 2013, is now in U.S. custody and is expected to appear in a New York court on Monday. He faces charges related to drug trafficking and weapons offenses. The U.S. government has long accused him of running what it calls a narco-terrorist regime, allegations Maduro has repeatedly denied. Meanwhile, Delcy Rodríguez, who previously served as Maduro's vice president, has stepped forward as Venezuela's new leader. Backed by the country's Supreme Court and the military, Rodríguez is scheduled to be sworn in as president in Caracas at 8 a.m. local time. At her first cabinet meeting, she struck a noticeably conciliatory tone. She publicly invited the United States to cooperate with her government, saying she wanted collaboration focused on shared development and framed within international law. It was a sharp contrast to Trump's language. Trump, however, made it clear that he sees regime change in Venezuela as a positive outcome. In the same interview, he said that regime change, anything you want to call it, is better than what you have right now, adding bluntly, it can't get any worse. On Saturday, Trump went even further, saying the United States would effectively run Venezuela until what he described as a safe, proper, and judicious transition could take place. He also promised that U.S. oil companies would move into Venezuela, repair damaged infrastructure, and begin extracting oil, saying it would ultimately benefit the country economically. Despite these claims, Maduro's allies still hold significant power within Venezuela, and the international reaction has been swift and deeply divided. Cuba, one of Maduro's closest allies, says that 32 Cuban combatants were killed during the U.S. operation that captured Maduro and his wife. The Cuban government has declared 2 days of national mourning, calling those killed brave combatants. Venezuela's defense minister has also claimed that a large portion of Maduro's security team, along with soldiers and innocent civilians, died during the strikes. U.S. officials, however, insist that no American troops were harmed. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been at the center of the administration's defense of the operation. Appearing on several U.S. television programs, Rubio repeatedly insisted that the United States is not at war with Venezuela. He described the mission not as an invasion, but as a law enforcement operation. According to Rubio, the U.S. is at war with drug trafficking organizations, not with the Venezuelan state itself. He even claimed that Maduro was arrested on the ground by FBI agents. Rubio also addressed concerns about congressional approval. When asked why Congress was not notified in advance, he said that doing so would have risked leaks that could have compromised the operation. In his words, this was not an invasion, and therefore congressional authorization was not required. However, many lawmakers, particularly Democrats, strongly disagree. Several Democratic leaders have condemned the operation, calling it unconstitutional and extremely dangerous. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said the mission was far more than a narcotics operation. He described it as an act of war. Jeffries claimed it involved elite U.S. forces, including Delta Force, thousands of troops, dozens of ships, and at least 150 military aircraft operating in and around Venezuela. Jim Himes, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, said there had been zero outreach from the Trump administration. He stated that no Democrat he was aware of had been briefed beforehand. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer also raised serious concerns. While acknowledging Maduro's long record of repression and abuse, Schumer warned that lawlessness cannot be answered with more lawlessness. He said that history has shown the American people often pay the price in blood and money when the U.S. attempts regime change through military force. Both Schumer and Jeffries have vowed to support a resolution that would block Trump from taking any further action in Venezuela without explicit congressional approval. But the backlash is not limited to the United States. Several countries across Latin America and Europe have condemned the operation. In a joint statement, the governments of Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Uruguay, and Spain warned that the U.S. military action sets an extremely dangerous precedent. They said it threatens regional peace, security, and civilian lives. Trump has also expanded his rhetoric beyond Venezuela. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, he issued threats toward Colombia, Venezuela's neighbor. He did not rule out military action and said such an idea sounds good to him. Trump went on to insult Colombian President Gustavo Petro, calling him a sick man and accusing him of profiting from cocaine production and trafficking into the United States. These remarks have further escalated tensions in an already volatile region. Back in New York, armed police have been stationed outside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Nicolás Maduro is being held. Maduro, who leads Venezuela's United Socialist Party, has long been accused of suppressing opposition voices, silencing dissent, and using violence to maintain power. Many governments and Venezuelan opposition figures say he illegitimately won the country's 2024 election. Maduro, for his part, denies all U.S. accusations. He claims the charges are politically motivated and says the so-called war on drugs is simply a cover for Washington's desire to seize Venezuela's vast oil reserves. As Delcy Rodríguez prepares to take office, the future of Venezuela remains deeply uncertain. The United States says it does not recognize the legitimacy of the Venezuelan regime at all, regardless of who is in charge. Rubio has stated plainly that this is not about recognizing a president, but about protecting U.S. interests and applying pressure through economic and political leverage. That leverage includes continued restrictions, what he calls a quarantine on Venezuela's oil industry. So now the world is watching closely. Will Delcy Rodríguez attempt genuine cooperation with the United States, or will Venezuela push back against what many countries are calling an illegal and dangerous use of force? And perhaps most importantly, will this moment lead to stability or to a wider conflict across Latin America? One thing is clear. The arrest of Nicolás Maduro has not ended Venezuela's crisis.